more specifically the YTPC. Well, it's finally happened. Charlie from Boca de Boynton finally lit the fire under my cheeks to get this video done. Maybe that's what I needed, because I am a procrastinator. If something starts to feel like work, or something starts to feel like an obligation, then I just don't want to do it. I start finding reasons to not do it. Beg your pardon. First of all, housekeeping in I believe it's Cobbett of the Shot. It's a Missouri Meerschaum Cobbett, I believe, or it could be a country gentleman. I don't know for sure, and that's okay. I packed it with something A Man Relaxes gave me, and I still have it. I still have a little bit left, so I packed it with this. I figured it'd be good to smoke along. So I don't know if anyone's going to join me during this live. It doesn't matter, because I'm only doing this because my space in the smartphone is getting cramped, and I'm again procrastinating about getting is it a card? What do you call it? A smart card for the phone? Is that what it is? SanDisk smart card for the phone. So that's why I'm doing it live for now. Anyway. Anyway, first things first, Happy New Year. I hope everyone had a good Christmas, good New Year celebration. Hello, David. Morgue. I could say that I actually won Christmas. What I thought. I was wondering what that was. I suspected it was in Welsh. Dave? Anyway, sorry. I must focus. I'm bad at focusing too. Anyway, I won at Christmas because, number one, I didn't put up a tree. I haven't put up a tree for like 4 years, and that's because I'm lazy. And that there's no other way around it. I mean, I love the decorations. I love the fact that they're up. But putting it up's one thing, taking it down's another, and it's just too much work. So I didn't do it. Secondly, looking for my my pipe tool. It's in here somewhere. No, it's not humbug, Dave, and I'll tell you why. I like Christmas. I love Christmas, as a matter of fact. But there's a lot of stuff about it that I don't like the guilt trip that you get. I mean, yeah, the decorations are one thing. I'm just lazy. Okay, I admit that. I procrastinate with everything. I guess that's one of my 7 deadly sins. I'm lazy. And so didn't set up the tree, but I did spring up the Christmas cards whenever I hung up some twine around the room, and whenever the Christmas cards came in, I put them up. I strung them along the twine, and after a while, it was looking pretty Christmassy in the living room. So that I did. Also, for reasons I won't get into, there's a kind of a scam in my partner's family. Beg pardon. there's a schism in my partner's family for reasons I don't quite understand yet. Um, Bill isn't talking with his son. I don't know exactly why. I'm not going to press him on it. Consequently, I either packed this too tight or I didn't let it dry out. Don't know what. Consequently, we didn't have to go to any family gatherings, which is fine with me. Not that I dislike Bill's son's family. I always had a good time when I went there, but it's just kind of, like I said, it becomes sort of like a mandatory. It becomes sort of like a, now you're forced into a bunch of room with people you don't really know, and you have to make nice, and it's just not my thing. I'm not a really social type. I'm not a real social person, in case you haven't figured that out yet. And I work with the public. Um, Plane loads packed full of people, and I'm kind of antisocial, but I can fake it. I can phone in a decent public persona if I have to. So, Christmas was good. I listened to listen to the requisite Christmas music. I only got Mariah Apocalypse only 3 times, which is pretty good for the Christmas season when you're going out in public and you hear Christmas music all around you. The Mariah song comes on, you got Mariah Apocalypse, so I only count 3 times. And of course, then you have Paul McCartney, Simply Having a Wonderful Christmas Time, which is pretty bad. Let's face it, it's bad, but it's chintzy. Paul McCartney was always sort of like the cheesier one of the Beatles, because of his music hall background. So you just kind of have to go with it and tolerate it. It's not something you have to hear all year, so a couple times isn't really a bad thing. Anyway, so what have I been doing? I've just been going to work, like going down, to Logan Airport, doing the occasional turn to like Raleigh Durham, that kind of thing. Going to be okay. I've upped the hours a little bit because some bills obviously need to get paid. So, in addition to winning Christmas, not having to go to family gatherings, Bill and I didn't even buy presents for each other, so there's no running to the malls and experiencing all that stress, except when we actually had to go Christmas shopping, so we got to bleed over from that. So yeah, we had very little Christmas frantic. The frantic feeding frenzy of shopping that goes on during Christmas time. We experienced very little of that. However, I did. I watched the requisite movies. I listened to the music, like I said before, and I really enjoyed it. I love Christmas. I wrote up my Christmas cards. Some of you have received some of those, and some of them are still landing. My aunt up in Canada just got one up in Marston, Quebec. They had a postal strike going on, and our Canada folks just got their cards. And my aunt, she speaks very little English, but she said thank you for the card in French. I can read enough French, and I said to her in French, it's like, she goes, that was hilarious. Like, yeah, well, you get my sense of humor, which is good. And she said, yes, I do, which meant, that's good. At least she kind of gets me. I mean, even though we have this kind of like a language barrier between us, she gets basically where my mind is coming from, and which is a good thing. I don't go up there very often, but she has to measure me. She gets me somewhat, which I really, really appreciate. Yeah, we did, Dave. I did have a good Christmas meal. Bill made it. And can I recall what it was right now? Of course not. But I think it had to do with It's almost like a Thanksgiving dinner with stuffing and everything, and some turkey. It was good. Bill's the cook in the family. Um, so what happened on New Year? I did an unofficial New Year's resolution to do more writing. Beg pardon again. Take care, Dave. He's probably going to the airport, Pittsburgh Airport. Um, hello, Rose's channel. All right. So what else do I want to say? Yeah. So I started doing some more writing on uh, January 1st. I just got the notebook out and I started putting pen to paper. Now the goal here is not to get it perfect. The goal here is not to write the great American novel. The goal here is to get used to the process, to get used to putting words down on paper and not being afraid of that whole process, because that whole process kind of blows if you're not used to it. You know, you basically, and the thing is, I did it first thing in the morning. So usually I get up in the morning, put the coffee on and everything like that. We have a pot on, percolated coffee. We let that fire up, and I'll be looking at my phone or doing whatever. And then once I get the coffee in my hand, I'm sitting down at the easy chair, I start writing. And it's usually on average about an hour. And there's no rules to it. There doesn't have to be a certain particular time period. There doesn't have to be a particular subject matter. You just have to write whatever's been knocking about in your brain. You just write it. And to be honest, after a week, the fear is now gone. The fear, I don't dread like, you know, oh, I have to sit down and write. And I'm glad I did it I do it first thing in the morning, because that's when, you know, my husband's all quiet at the computer. And that's the time I used to spend reading. And I still read, but obviously not as much because the writing's taking precedence. But that's what I do. I whip out the notebook and I take out my G2 Pilot gel pen. I just sit there and I write. I let the words come. And some of it feels clunky. Some of it feels great. That's the whole thing about writing. Whenever you read a book, it's very easy to forget that there was a rough draft, there was a rough process there, throwing it down. An editor has been involved. Also, before even that's ever happened, the writer has probably been through it a couple times to finesse the prose, to beat it into shape, to cut things out, to add things in. Writing is a process, and I'm just trying to get used to that process. And to be honest, it's been better than antidepressant medication, I have to tell you, because I don't feel like I'm just yearning to create anymore. Like, oh, you could have been a writer, Gary, but you kind of gave up on it. Now, okay, well, I'm not giving up on it. I'm writing, and I'm seeing where it goes, and it feels good. It really, really feels good. I wrote a short story over the last 2 or 3 days. Very short story, very basic, inspired by a scene from a comic series called Crisis on Infinite Earths. It was the big event that DC Comics had to streamline all of its multiple Earths into one Earth. And there's a scene in there that I particularly enjoyed. Supergirl and Batgirl are basically sitting on a building looking down at the chaos and the flickering red skies happening, and Batgirl is like, I don't know what I'm doing down here. I don't have any powers. I can't do anything. And Supergirl's basically trying to encourage her. So I basically was inspired by that to write my own particular scene, because I have to admit, I've always been fascinated with the multiverse, in comics especially, because you know, when you discover that, oh wow, there's another version of Green Lantern, there's another version of Superman and Batman, and sometimes they meet, they cross the Earth 2 people cross over to Earth 1, JSA on Earth 2 cross over to Earth 1 to meet the Justice League to meet, and it turned into an annual meeting. And of course, so the fans grew with that and they loved it. And it was their way of explaining why, the heroes weren't aging as the years went on, type thing. It was just something that I really, really cottoned on to when I was younger, reading that. So the very first one I read was Crisis on Earth S. And I'm like, oh my God, there's different versions of these heroes? Oh, that's so cool. And so I did my own little homage to it in my notebook. But yeah, I feel good to be writing. I actually feel like I have this. Writing is a form of magic. It's a form of creation, as Cams Campbell would say. And I'm glad I'm doing it on a regular basis. I just hope it leads somewhere. I would love to be able to just sit down and tell a tale. I wrote a novel once upon a time. I want to say back in the late 90s. I wish I knew what happened to it. Got lost in the moves, but I wrote in a bunch of notebooks. And they're probably hidden in some box somewhere. I'm surprised I lost track of it, but that goes to show you how much I need to focus. But it's the type of novel I would have liked to have read when I was in high school, stuck in the study hall. It had time travel in it. It had teenage angst. It had a bit of history in it that you could actually look up and explore and learn more about. It had to do with Anne Frank's diary. And I used that as my springboard. And I had fun writing it. Of course, it forced you to kind of plot things out. Like, okay, I can't have my hero do this right now until later on. In your mind, you kind of could see the story flow happening. And that's how it was. I can't have my hero meet the villain right now because he's so inexperienced. So we'll move that up over here. And when I was writing the novel, of course, I had a part that was running in the middle. So if I ever went back again to fix it, I'd have to firm that up and add some buttresses to it. And Stephen King even says when you're writing, you have to get your first draft down as quickly as possible. Bam, 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 bam. That way you have the raw stuff there. All the clay is there on the table, and then you can start hitting the clay table. That rotating clay. I forget the clay. The rotating thing that you form the clay with. I forget the name of that, but. And Stephen King, he's written a couple books on writing, and he's very, very workmanlike about it. He tells you how it works because it's hard work. There's no doubt about it. But you have to write. You can't think about writing. Can't talk about writing. You can't throw these ideas out there. This a story that you like to do. You actually have to sit down and put some stuff down on paper so that it can stay in your mind and you can work with it. And I'm glad I started that, and I intend on continuing it. So that's I'm glad I'm able to keep that. And every time I'm done, I put a W on the calendar. So there's something very empowering about looking at a calendar and you see a row of W's there. It's like, yep, I did that. I'm keeping true to my promise to myself. So I think this is out for now. But anyway, I'll just keep talking until I'm tired of talking, until you're sick and tired of hearing me talk. I'm having a good time watching videos with the YTPC. Dicky Labs is becoming a very good friend. Very learned man, have to say. Dicky subs, give him a sub if you aren't already subbed to him. He's a quality purveyor of country bullshit, and I mean that in the most respectful way. Golly, haven't really had a chance to sit down and see certain Pipers of late. But I'm glad to be a part of the YTPC, like I said before. And Charlie, you got to start posting yourself. Kind of miss your videos, man. That's all I really had to say. I wasn't sure what I was going to say until I started rolling tape. And of course, once I stop, I'm sure I'm going to think of a billion other things I should have said. But 20 minutes is long enough. Take care of yourself, folks. We'll speak to you soon. All the best. And how do I stop? Jane, stop this crazy thing. Hit the X. Yes, I do want to stop streaming.